Hey there guys, I'm SonicGhost and welcome back to some more Let's Play Splatoon 2 Octo expansion. Last time, we made our way through the beeline more and got ourselves one of the 4 things. So now we're on a hunt for more. So we're gonna go ahead and ignore the one we have on our screen and go over to G/B here. It is decidedly so, the Wack 8-ball station. So here we have a choice of one of 3 weapons. The Clash Blaster and Splat Bomb, Sploosh-O-Matic and Curling Bomb, or the Ink Brush and Auto Bomb. Let's go ahead and start with the recommended as it is considered the easiest based on that reward payout. Please lead the 8-ball to the goal. This test is a bit of a long one, so you'll need to be mentally strong. Stay focused and don't let your concentration wane. Take care out there. Strap in for a long one. We're going to be here for quite a while based on what Sea Cucumber said. The 8-ball goal is right in front of you, but no 8-ball in sight. So now we got to go ahead and find the ball like Pearl says. So this mission, as you can kind of tell just from the very beginning, is a scavenger hunt. We need to find the 8-ball and bring it back to the beginning. So we're going to go forwards and then backwards in this said level. Now we got the bridge down, we can go ahead and continue forward here. Take out some of the Octolings in front of us. And now let's just go ahead and paint this wall up, go up here, and shoot you with the said blaster. This blaster is probably one of my more favorite ones to use for a mission like this because of just how fast it is. It's a very fast blaster, and it does do a good amount of damage still to enemies. Not one of the stronger blasters in the game, but it still can take out things pretty easily. Here we got ourselves a special of the bomb launcher, but as we can see, it respawns, so we can just go ahead and use this to our heart's content. We're gonna go ahead and paint up this wall, and while we're at it, make a shortcut back up here as well. Now let's go ahead and grab the special yet again, and we'll just bank this for now, so we might want to use this later. The 8-ball's inside of that vault, but we need a key. So, as Pearl says, we need to find that key first. Go ahead and shoot this thing one more time to line ourselves up to where we can get to the 8-ball vault when we're done, because over here on our right is where the said key is located for the vault. Keys spotted, and also a whole bunch of enemies. Let's go ahead and use our burst bombs here. Why I kept myself an extra burst bomb rush in the bank. Go ahead and cover you guys all in the ink so you can't really move, and that's that. Pretty easy. Once you got the key, head for the vault. On my way there now, Marina. Luckily, we already are very lined up to get to the said vault, so go ahead and just shoot this just to make a quick shortcut. And there you go. We're over at the vault. Ah, yes, you found the ball. Now to find the goal. 8-ball goal is over by the turnstile, which means we gotta go all the way back around. So, that was great. Want to use the ball launcher to get it back? The answer is yes, you can. That's if the thing doesn't fall off of the center pillar. If it does, we got launchers to put it back to the top, which helps in our case. Really didn't want to have to use one of those, but hey, that's just how the ball rolls. Quite literally in this case. Luckily, there are little fences here that can stop the ball. It's just momentum on this thing can be a little much at times. Wow, squid rings! Well, that's what these things are called. I always just called them onion rings, because that's really what they are. They're just flat out onion rings, but yeah, squid rings works for me too. Elevator up next, and then proceed with caution. Okay, that didn't work out nearly as well as I hoped. That's a spongy platform. It's supposed to be able to stop your ball dead in its tracks. Keyword supposed to. If you hit the thing with too much force, it's still gonna roll off, so yeah, it didn't really work out in my favor. So now all of our ink is cleared in this map, and that could be kind of a bad thing in some regards. This is actually one of those missions where it's easier if you can get through it in a deathless attempt, because you'll have all your ink still on the map, which could make refilling your ink in certain areas a little bit easier, or even just dodging enemy attack easier as well. Here I'm just gonna go ahead and use my bomb rush to push the 8-ball off the edge. The idea was there, the execution was horrible, so let's not do that this time, and let's just shoot this thing with the blaster. Wait for this platform to be curled up in such a way that we can just roll this thing across straight. And now with that, goal's up ahead, so let's just go ahead and shoot this thing down. and just barely missed the goal. I mean, to be fair, this thing does have a roof above it, so there's no way we're going to get a hole-in-one situation here. Also, be very careful when you get down here not to land on this in your octopus form, and that's why. You'll get launched back up to the top section, and then you have to work your way right back down. It's just kind of an inconvenience factor. Well, it looks like we can already find a new line here on the G line. That was pretty fast, but we need to make our way back into the Wack 8-ball station, as we have 2 more weapons we need to go ahead and use for the said test. So let's work our way up the difficulty chain here. Let's pick the Splatoon and Curling Bomb. So, we're losing a lot of our range now going with some of these extra weapons, as the Splatoon is a very powerful weapon, but has a very poor range. So, mileage may vary on this one. I don't really find this one to be all that easy for the said mission, because this is one you do want range. But this will make pushing around the 8-ball later a little bit easier in some regards, simply just because of how powerful this thing is. It'll push the 8-ball pretty far if you get a good amount of shots in. Let's just be very careful around the corners here. We don't want to immediately walk off the edge and die. That would be kind of a bad thing. Take out the enemies as we go, because if we end up coming here without dying, then these enemies will also stay dead too, which is going to help us. I have to wait here a minute, as we need to wait for the platform to come our way. Jump on it, and immediately just hide behind this pillar, as I don't want to die here. Gonna wait it out here behind the said pillar. Octo Sniper's gonna be looking in the distance, be a little confused. Now surprise attack. Very good indeed. Go ahead and get ourselves some burst bombs here, and immediately cover up this wall with all our ink. And I'm just gonna go ahead and create a shortcut, wait for this to run out, and grab me another pack of bombs. That makes things a lot easier for our upcoming section, as we proved with our previous weapon. Gonna activate this, rotate us around here about 3 times. There we go. Use a curling bomb here if I had enough ink. I like using curling bombs more for movement in this mission, as curling bombs are a little bit hard to actually do damage to a lot of different enemy types here, but they're really good for movement-based stuff. So that's how I usually like using curling bombs to begin with. It's mainly for movement purposes, and that even goes for the multiplayer Splatoon too. They're a really good option just for moving around fast on the map. And by the time you have enough ink, you can throw another curling bomb, and the previous one is about ready to explode. So I just find it to be really good to daisy chain curling bombs together, just to keep on moving forward fast. There we go, now we got ourselves the 8-ball, so now we need to make our way back to the beginning of this level. So, camera shot up, be very slow with the first couple of shots to get it in the track, and now just let it go. We're going through the squid rings, get ourselves some extra points, a lot of them to be precise. We got over 50 just by going that path, it's a lot. And we went way too fast there. Well, that's great. That's 2 for 2 on going too fast in this section. Maybe we'll actually have a weapon that doesn't go off the edge. I didn't even think I hit it that hard, but the Splatoon does a lot more damage than you really think. Gonna wait for this platform to come back our way. Shoot a little bit to get the ball on the platform. Just kind of wait this one out here. Do not want to be rushing things at this point, because there's a lot more opportunities for this thing to fall off the edge. And as we've been seeing with my luck, the ball can definitely go in the wrong direction. So let's just be very careful here in the ending section. Hit the final checkpoint, and then bum rush this thing to the edge. Made it just in time as the platform is about ready to push the ball off to the other side. So let's go ahead and hit this thing with our curling bomb. And it almost made it in the goal. Man, if only. But with that, we have passed the test with the Splatoon. There's only one more weapon left, and that is the ink brush. One more weapon to choose from here, the ink brush with the auto bomb. Auto bomb can be pretty useful for attacking some of these enemies. Ink brush, on the other hand, probably not as much. The ink brush, we gotta get pretty close to these guys to start doing damage. And things here do a lot of damage to you, so yeah, by far, it's probably the hardest weapon to use for the said mission. Probably one I wouldn't really recommend using, but if you do want that big payout, then I guess you can use it. It's kind of a weird situation when it comes to recommending one weapon type to another. in this said DLC because it's to a multitude of different factors as to which weapon you should use for what mission. It depends on your playstyle, how comfortable you are with the weapon, if you do need the said payout or not. There's a multitude of factors. It even depends on the mission itself if the mission was built for a certain weapon type over another. There are definitely certain missions in the Octo expansion that feel more designed for one specific weapon type than others. So there are some cases where there are some other weapons you just shouldn't even attempt a mission with. I haven't really ran into one of those cases just yet, but later on we'll be running into missions that are definitely more designed for one weapon over another. So far, at least the stuff is pretty straightforward. It's mainly just changing how we attack some enemies. That's for the most part all we're really seeing different when it comes to different weapon types. It does help for variety's sake to have multiple weapons to use here, because we didn't really get the same ability in the single-player campaign Splatoon 2 until after we unlocked the weapon for the first time. And by that point, you don't need to go back to any of the levels ever again with certain weapons, so it was not really needed. Plus, you had to beat a level with a specific weapon for the first time you ever played in the single-player. So, while we did have variety in the different weapons to use in the said single-player campaign Splatoon 2, you were locked down to whatever the game itself picked to use for that said mission. If you had to use the splatter shot, that's all you were allowed to use. If you had to use a roller, then you couldn't use the splat charger until after you beat the mission with the roller. Here in the Octo expansion, we at least have a choice of up to 3 weapons for a lot of these missions. And if our gameplay style is different compared to what they recommend, well, we don't have to stick to the said recommended and play this however we want, which is a nice way of getting extra replayability with this said DLC. In a lot of ways, I feel like this is probably the more replayable thing of single-player content in Splatoon 2 compared to the main campaign itself, simply just because of how much content is already here in the Octo expansion, and the fact that we can actually just do almost every single mission with multiple weapon types. It does give it a lot of extra replay value that, in some ways, is a lot more enjoyable compared to the replay value of the main campaign of single-player for Splatoon 2. Don't get me wrong, the main single-player campaign you get by default here in this game, it's really good. But by comparison, I think the Octo expansion, well, expands on that concept of what the single-player introduces here, and then some. This is, in my opinion, a really good single-player mode. And it's for a really solid price, too, of only $20, or even just included with the expansion pack for the Switch Online. So it's definitely worth picking up if you own Splatoon 2. Hey, that conversation got us through the level without dying. We finally didn't push the ball off the edge for once. That's a miracle. But now we're done with the 8-ball station. You can take a look at the mem cake we got from it. This here is the ink line. Put down the phone, go shelf your book. Get ready, champ. It's time for camp. We'll share a drink right from the brook. I hope you purify that water first if you're going to drink right from the rivers, because that could be filled with plenty of algae and other questionable germs, to say the least. But hey, this is the ink line mem cake. Pretty simple symbol. I do like the mountains in the background, though, hence how we get the whole camp story, poetry, quote. But yeah, that's a simple one. Let's go ahead and continue onwards here with Just Cruisin', the Rad Ride Station. So here we have a choice of one of 3 weapons, the Hydro Splatling and Auto Bomb, Aero Spray MG and Splat Bomb, or the Range Blaster and Curling Bomb. Let's go ahead and start with the recommended, as it is considered the easiest one here for the said mission. Please ride the tower to the enemy goal. The tower will start moving once you're on board. Be aware that the tower will pause for a bit when it reaches each checkpoint. Take care out there. Let's go ahead and begin the mission. That looks like trouble. Alright, you just gotta ride that tower all the way to the enemy goal. That sounds easy enough, right? I mean, nothing can go wrong. Let's get to the tower. And we're off. Alrighty, we already got an enemy trying to kill us. Go ahead and take him out, and with that, gonna wait at a checkpoint here for a bit. So if you played the Tower Control Ranked mode here in Splatoon 2, you'll know how this works, but if you have not, the gist of it here is that we need to be standing on this tower to move it forward. We'll hit checkpoints, which will stop us momentarily, but we can move after a certain amount of seconds here. We gotta clear the set checkpoint timer to continue forward. There are more checkpoints here, though, in this mission than there would be in a standard ranked mode match of tower control, as there's definitely more than double the checkpoints here. You don't have 6 checkpoints normally for the said mission, but you do start off with the special, the baller here. So we can use the baller as a nice shield to protect ourselves from getting hit, which is good in a situation where we got an enemy using the inkjet special on us. So yeah, let's take you out. Be very careful here because we passed the halfway mark, but we did take a lot of damage. Unfortunately for us, it was too much damage to live with. So when you die here, they do give you a launch pad to take you straight back to the tower, which is helpful for our case because now we can land right back on it and use our baller immediately here just to kind of sit in the middle, kind of just camping out here on the top and defend ourselves along moving the tower forward. And take out this Octoling. They had a Sprapbrella there, which is actually a pretty good weapon to have for a mode like tower control, because you do want to have yourself some kind of defensive thing when you're riding the tower. And even defending the said tower, this helps too, because you can't do anything with these things until the Sprapbrella is out of the way. And hide my ink here for a minute because they do have an ink storm going, which is a problem for me because I'll take some chip damage over time. But now we only have a little bit of distance left before we get to the said goal. So let's go ahead, charge up our weapon here one more time. Take you out. Okay, well, this is kind of awkward. Sure, GG's. That's one way to win tower control. I was running out of ink at the end. I didn't want to charge the ink, and somehow just shooting a little splat of shots. I don't know how that worked, but it worked. We take those. So let's go ahead and make our way back into the Rad Ride station here. Now, for the most part, this is going to play out the same way with the other 2 weapons. It's just difficulty is going to really depend on how comfortable you are with the other 2 weapon types here. The Hydro Splatly is definitely the easy mode of the said mission because of its long range, but in some cases, you may not even need that range, depending. So let's go ahead and start off here with the Aerospray MG. So for the sake of moving things forward, let's just go ahead and play through this mission in double time because we have to do this 3 times in total. You've already seen how the mission works, so we don't need to sit through this whole thing at normal speed. So using something like the Aerospray, we definitely have a lot of shorter range with the said weapon here, but we can get off the tower and then just run up to enemies, attack them immediately, and get back on the tower. If we're getting back on the tower after a few seconds being knocked off, we can go ahead and continue moving forward. But if you stay off the tower for too long, it'll start moving its way back to your home base. So you gotta stay on this tower for as long as you can, but at the same time, you don't need to stay on it for the whole mission, which is at least a saving grace here. It works in the same way as tower control for the multiplayer mode in ranked, as you don't need to stay on it the whole time there as well, but you do need to stay on it long enough to continue getting this thing to move forward. One thing I always found very helpful in tower control is just to hide behind the tower's pointy part in the middle and use it as a wall of some kind. Because doing this, you'll be able to at least avoid some of the enemy projectiles being hurled your way, whether it be shots or any kind of bombs, but it's not foolproof. You don't want to stand still too long on the tower as you are a sitting duck. Getting off sometimes is more beneficial than staying on, but it's very easy to be knocked off by accident, so just take your time in this kind of mission. Don't bum rush this one too much. Play it strategically. There we go, we made it to the end of the map with the tower, and now we completed it using the Aerospray MG. One more weapon to use here, and that's the ranged blaster. Let's go ahead, select it, and start the test. So this one we're gonna have to go through a little faster. We're gonna make our way through this mission in triple speed, simply just because the ranged blaster is so bad for this mission. Remember back in our last station where I said there were some weapon types that weren't really designed for some missions in mind? This is one of those examples. The range blaster here for this tower control mission makes things a lot harder, simply because of how the range blaster has a very slow shot, it has a lot of ink consumption for every time you shoot, and while it does a lot of damage, it is kind of hard to hit enemies on this map because a lot of them have splatbrellas. So because of this, they have shields up, which really makes it much harder for you to actually do damage to these octolings. You want to try to get your shot off to the side of an octoling so you can get past the brellas, but even then, sometimes it's not foolproof. So I really do not recommend doing this mission specifically with the range blaster weapon, because this is definitely the hard mode. We're going to be here for quite some time. But in this mission, you want to be very careful about not only your ink consumption, but also about the enemy's location compared to yours on the tower, because if you're using something, say the baller, you can actually be pushed off of the tower and instantly die. So you gotta be very careful here. Take your time, move around the tower, don't stay in one place for too long, and whenever you can, fill up the tower with your own ink so you have something to hide in. We made it! Man, that mission sucks with the range blaster. But we did it, and now we clear the Rad Ride Station. Don't make me ever go through that again with a ranged blaster. That weapon is definitely not designed for a mission like that. This is what I was talking about earlier in the 8-ball station. Some weapons are definitely not meant for certain missions, and that ranged blaster is one of them. But hey, we got ourselves a men cake. Let's take a look at it. It's the Octocopter, a hilltop picnic. Friends and fruit. Your whirling blades provide a shade. I raise a hand in mock salute. I hope when you do the mock salute, it's not actually mocking the Octocopter, because something tells me an Inkling or Octarian would probably do that more as a mocking gesture than just a gesture. Like the Octocopter, though. Got a little bit of sass in him. At the same time, he definitely looks a little curious in something. But with that, we got a little bit left here of the beeline to go ahead and explore, but I think we'll be continuing our way through the beeline in the next episode. Next time, Let's Play Splatoon 2 Octo Expansion, we'll finish making our way through the beeline here of the Deep Sea Metro. I'll see you guys next time.